And now the Tigers 10 games over 500 for the first time this year. And Miguel Cabrera has to be hitting the ball better than anyone in baseball and heading for the All-Star game in Anaheim.
As a matter of fact, he's in the MVP conversation as we speak. Since Cabrera put on a Tigers uniform before that 2008 season, no middle-of-the-order hitter has done more damage than Miguel Cabrera. And the reason why he does so much damage, he goes foul line to foul line and hits with a lot of power. When you start talking about batting average, you got to flip the script to Minnesota, and that honor goes to Joe Mauer. He was the leading vote getter this year for the All-Star Classic that will be played next Tuesday in Anaheim, and clearly an outstanding player, very popular player. Should be an outstanding day of baseball today, this afternoon.
And always big-time battles, Rod, whenever the Twins and Tigers meet like they did in that epic 163rd game last October. After 12 heart-pounding innings, the Twins prevailed. But the Tigers have forged their way back this year. First pitch coming up. Detroit. And Rima Faki, Miss USA 2010, threw out today's ceremonial first pitch. And earlier today, she received the key to the city of Dearborn. And there she is with her style, and it was a slow-breaking ball, just missing the inside corner. Well, we're ready to go now in the starting lineup for the Twins, brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. Denard Span leading off in center field. Orlando Hudson will be at second base. Joe Mauer behind the plate. Jim Thome batting clean up the DH. Jason Kubel will be in right field. Michael Kadire at first base. Delman Young in left field. J.J. Hardy at shortstop, and Nick Punto batting ninth. At third base facing Jeremy Bonderman, and the first pitch is a fastball up high, ball one. So we're underway. Jeremy Bonderman with a 4-6 record, making his 16th start of the year, and Denard Span, who has hit Tiger pitching well, takes the strike, and the count is 1-1. Chad Fairchild is our home plate umpire. Eric Cooper is at first, Bill Miller at second, and the crew chief Mike Riley over at third. Foul ball out of play, and it's 1-2. And take a look at Jeremy Bonderman, who has appeared once in relief this year. This is his 16th start, as we said, and a 4-6 record, and has struggled a bit in his last 3 starts, Rod.
He really has struggled a little bit. One of the things that he needs to accomplish today is he needs to make sure that he gets to his slider and he locates his slider in a better area than he has his last number of starts.
1-2 pitch hit out to right center field, and coming over Austin Jackson, the Fleet rookie, having an outstanding year, makes the catch, and there's one away. This game is brought to you by Budweiser, official beer of the thirst inning. The beer that starts with full flavor and ends with a crisp, clean finish. Budweiser, it's what we do.
What a nice luxury to have if you're Jeremy Bonderman and you've got Austin Jackson in center field. If you make a mistake with a breaking ball, as he did there to Denard Spand, Jackson in center field can run them down with the best of them.
Here's Orlando Hudson. Switch hitting second baseman on the first pitch. Grounds a base hit into right field. And the Twins have a base runner. And right now, let's take a look at the sprint pitcher profile for Jeremy Bonderman, Rod.
Well, fastball command is going to be key for him, and he needs to be south of the knees. He needs to be on the corner, and they need to be firm. In the month of May, Bonderman was one of the best pitchers in all of baseball, the only one that had a better earned run average than him, Ubaldo Jimenez of the Colorado Rockies, and we all know what kind of year Jimenez is having. But 5 starts for Bonderman in May, he only gave up 6 runs, and he faced some really good teams, the Angels, the Yankees, and the Boston Red Sox.
And he's facing a very tough hitter here in Joe Mauer. And the first pitch is outside, ball 1. Joe Mauer heading for the All-Star game. And as you mentioned, the top vote getter and the 3rd highest total of votes, 5,370,000. Only Ken Griffey Jr. and last year Albert Pujols had more votes than Joe Mauer. And you mentioned his number is a little bit below what you expect of Mauer as he takes the breaking ball for a strike, and it's 1-1.
Teams are playing Mauer a little differently these days. The shortstop has kind of anchored themselves right back up the middle where he hits a lot of his baseballs. And what you try to get him to do is you throw him slow breaking balls to see if you can get him to roll over something to the second baseman or the first baseman. That's how you pitch to Mauer. When he's going the other way with authority, that's when he's doing most of his damage.
Pitch is outside, 2 balls and a strike. Last night, the Tigers won 7-3, had 11 hits, and they knocked out Francisco Liriano in the second inning, and that has been the big problem for the Twins. Their starting pitching. They have not really gotten to many quality starts, and it was never more apparent than last night as sliding back is Hudson, who has 6 stolen bases on the year.
Ron Gardenhire said as much. Of course, he's the manager of the Minnesota Twins. He said that they have just been giving up way too many runs early in games, and the way that their offense has been playing away from their ballpark, their new ballpark, Target Field, their offense really hasn't been able to recover.
3 balls and a strike to Mauer. Jim Thome is on deck for the Minnesota Twins. Twins at 45-41. They have lost 3 in a row. And they have, though, won 6 of the first 10 games against the Tigers in this season series.
We may see some activity here with Orlando Hudson on the 3-1 pitch to Mauer, because Mauer has grounded into 14 double plays already this year.
There goes Hudson, gets a good jump as Mauer fouls it off. And Hudson would have had that base stolen.
And the last thing that Ron Gardenhire is going to do here today is allow his team to hit into more double plays. They have hit into a whopping 100 double plays this year. 100.
Most in the major leagues without question. And it's interesting that Ron Gardenhire saying yesterday that I'd like to run a little more, but I've not been able to do it. He likes to send the runners. So let's see what he does. 3-2 with 1 out. Hudson with the lead. And he's off again. The 3-2 pitch hit in the air to left field. Brendan Bosch under it, and he makes the catch for out number 2 as Hudson returns to first base. And here is today's defensive lineup for the Tigers, brought to you by Scott's. Bosch with Austin Jackson and Maglio Ordonez in the outfield. Brandon Inge at third. Ramon Santiago at short. Carlos Guillen is at second, and Miguel Cabrera at first. Alex Avila behind the plate. For Jeremy Bonderman. So with 2 out and a runner at first, here's Jim Thome. And Thome has hit 63 home runs against the Tigers, more than any other team. And a great week for Thome, who was the American League Player of the Week. And surpassing Harmon Killebrew into 10th all-time in the Home Run Derby. He takes a fastball up high, 1-0.
Take a look at the defensive alignment here. You've got the shortstop Santiago playing on the second base side of the bag. You've got the second baseman Carlos Guillen basically playing right field. That's Brandon Inge. He's your third baseman. He's the lone member of the infield on the left side of the infield, but special players create special defensive alignments, and Thome would fall into that category.
There's a fastball for a strike. So Jim Thome, who hit the home run for the White Sox to knock out the Twins 2 years ago when they played their 163rd game of the year. So this division, telling Gardenhire, hope you're ready for the extra season, and I'm talking about that extra game. This division always seems to play. 1-1, foul out of play.
Jim Thome is one of those guys, as he's gotten a little older, in his 20th season in the major leagues, his bat has slowed down a little bit. So when you attack him, you've got to attack him about the belt buckle, but you've got to go inside. If you try to go away and you allow him to extend his arms, he has done a lot of damage, and he still has the ability to do some damage. As a matter of fact, a couple of weeks ago, he homered a couple of times in a 3-game series against the Tigers at Target Field.
Orlando Hudson with the lead at first, 2 down, and the 1-2 pitch. And Thome strikes out, and that'll end it. 1 hit, 1 left. Twins don't score, and the Tigers coming up in the first. Bottom of the first inning. And right now, the starting lineup for the Tigers brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun, and there they are. Austin Jackson leading off. Johnny Damon, the veteran, batting second. Maglio Ordonez, who knocked in 3 runs last night, batting third. Miguel Cabrera, cleanup. Brendan Bosch, the rookie, batting fifth. Carlos Guillen in the 6th slot. Brandon Inge batting 7th. Alex Avila in the 8th position, and Ramon Santiago batting 9th. For the Tigers, facing Nick Blackburn, who is 7-6 with an ERA of 6.00, has really struggled on the road in his last 4 road starts. He's allowed at least 5 runs and has not pitched past the 4th inning. And the sprint pitcher profile for Nick Blackburn.
Talking to Rick Anderson, the pitching coach, underrated pitching coach in Minnesota, he says Blackburn needs to mix in more pitches early, not to be so fastball happy. He needs to get to the slider, the curve, and the changeup. He gets tons of run support. Over 7 runs a game does his team score for him when he's on the mound, but he doesn't pitch very well away from Target Field, nor has he pitched all that well away from Minnesota.
Austin Jackson with an opposite field base hit into the right field corner, on his way to second base, and will stop there with a double. on the first pitch of the game. So Jackson, who had an 11-game hitting streak snapped last night, starts a new one in impressive fashion with a double to start the Tiger first.
The Tigers really have not had all that much success against Blackburn, and one of the things that they will do today, they will jump on his fastballs very early in the game, as Jackson does there, and slices the ball down in the right field corner. What a nice piece of hitting here by Austin Jackson, who really has clobbered right-handed pitching in his first tour of duty in the major leagues.
That brings up Johnny Damon, the designated hitter. Tigers have runner in scoring position quickly here in the first inning, and Damon squares around the bunt, offers at it for strike one.
That's the kind of baseball the Tigers have been playing since they came out of interleague, and I talked to Jim Leland today before the game. He likes bunting early. He likes getting that first run on the board early, as they did in last night's game. And Jim Leland, of course, got his start in Pittsburgh. He managed in Colorado. He's a manager that likes the National League style of baseball.
And with Ordonez and Cabrera to follow, why not? Damon slaps it to shortstop. The runner will go to third, and Damon is retired. So he does not hit to the right side of the infield, but it was slow enough for Jackson to get to third with one out, bringing up Maglio Ordonez. And here is today's defensive lineup for the Twins, brought to you by Scott's. Delman Young in left, and Art Span in center, Jason Kubel in right field, Bodo at third, Hardy to shortstop, Orlando Hudson at second, and Michael Kadire at first. Joe Mauer catching Nick Blackburn. And the Twins, the #1 fielding team in the American League, and they have made the fewest errors in all of big league baseball, just 32. So a runner at third and one out, and a bounding ball clubbed nicely by Puto. The throw to the plate, and out at home is Austin Jackson. Puto making a great grab, turning around and getting Jackson at the plate on a fielder's choice for the second out as Ordonez reaches first base.
Nick Punto is one of the best infielders in the American League, but you don't really know that because he doesn't hit a whole lot. He made an outstanding play here last night to start a 5-4-3 double play, and that time wheels and turns and throws a strike to Mauer, and a nice job of blocking the plate by Mauer to get Jackson out at home plate.
So the defensive play by the Twins, and they have been outstanding in that department this year. And here is Miguel Cabrera with two out, and Ordonez the runner at first base. Cabrera second in the league in hitting, third in home runs, and second in RBIs. And so you mentioned an MVP candidate, obviously, but Triple Crown would have to come to mind as well at this point for Cabrera. Blackburn's first pitch, and it's a ball, 1-0.
Triple Crowns are very difficult to win, but Cabrera is one guy that is having an MVP type season. One of the most feared right-handed hitters in the American League, really in all of baseball, is Miguel Cabrera.
Last Triple Crown winner was Carl Yastrzemski of the Boston Red Sox, and you have to go back to 1967. 1-0 pitch, and a call strike, 1-1.
Let's take a look at Jackson here. It looked like he froze momentarily on the ground ball, and then he tried to read it, and then it was too late. And you see Mauer sticking the left leg out, blocking the plate, which didn't allow Jackson to get in there. Don't know if he would have got in there safely, but he did hesitate before he tried to get to home plate.
Time called at the plate. Talking about Cabrera, who has hit Nick Blackburn very well, 10 for 22 with a home run. That's a .455 average. So several of these Tigers have done well against Nick Blackburn. And time called, and trying to get on the same page. Joe Mauer going to the mound to talk to his pitcher. Minnesota Twins had a 4.5 game lead on June the 11th. Since then, they have lost 19 of 25. The Tigers have won 16 of 25. And those White Sox have won 20 of 25. And so what was a 4.5 game lead, the largest of the year for the Twins, now finds them in third, 3 behind these Tigers.
Ozzie Guillen's White Sox are sizzling hot.
They've got that solid pitching to carry them all the way. 1-1 pitch, hit in the air, deep to left center field, going back, and this ball is gone. Miguel Cabrera with a 2-run homer, and the Tigers take the lead. Number 22 on the year for Cabrera, who now has 76 runs batted in. And so the long ball, which the Tigers didn't get last night in their 11 hits, gets them on the board early today.
Cabrera is an absolute beast. He gets a little cut fastball away from him, and Maurer and Blackburn talked about the pitch prior, but Blackburn didn't execute it, and Cabrera, he makes Comerica Park look small, and it's one of the biggest ballparks in America.
Brendan Bosch, one hopper. Hudson on the outfield grass makes the play to retire the side. So a leadoff double. Jackson was out at home, but Miguel Cabrera with a 2-run blast, and the Tigers lead the Twins 2-0 after 1. Think outside the bun by Ford Drive 1 and by Sprint, the Now Network. Today's aerial coverage is provided by DirecTV. Get every MLB game and the most in HD. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Tigers leading 2-0 as the Twins batter the second inning, and they're still buzzing over that 2-run homer by Miguel Cabrera. Jason Kubel, Michael Kadire, and Delman Young facing Jeremy Bonderman, who has that lead to work with, and the first pitch, a breaking ball in for a strike. Kubel hitting .261, has 11 homers and 46 runs batted in, and he's been wielding a hot bat lately. Fouls it off, 0-2.
Kubel, like many on the Minnesota Twins team, if your name is not Maurer or Morneau, you kind of fall under the radar. Kadire would be in that same conversation. Kubel, Delman Young. But this guy is a real good fastball hitter and usually doesn't miss them regardless of the count.
1-2 strikes. This is a good hitting Minnesota team. They're 5th in average, 6th in runs scored coming in, and they're a versatile team, which appeals to Ron Gardenhire. And Michael Kadire plays multiple positions, as do several others on this Twins team. But right now, it's been the starting pitching which has been the problem. Foul out of play, and it's still 1-2. Bonderman is making his 16th start career-wise against the Twins. He has a 4-6 record, and his second start against Minnesota this year, and has a victory late June. Shaky performance, but got the victory.
This is a big inning for the Tigers and Bonderman. Anytime as a pitcher and your offense has gotten you 2 runs in the very first inning, what you must do as a starting pitcher, you must shut down the offense that next half inning and get your ball club back in the dugout and keep the momentum clearly on your side.
Breaking ball a bit low, and the count is 2-2 to Kubel.
Number 24 is one special player. That would be Miguel Cabrera.
Ground ball, foul down the right field line. So Jason Kubel hanging in there with the count 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Let's take a look at the swing one more time of Cabrera. That ball is a little cut fastball down and away, but you can see the extension with the arms, and you can also see the leverage with the legs on the right side. You can draw an imaginary line from the bill of his helmet right down through the center of his body, and that's where he gets the majority of his power, from his very strong legs.
And it looked like an effortless swing.
He makes the game look real easy.
So Cabrera now 1 behind Jose Bautista of the Blue Jays for the home run lead, tied with Josh Hamilton of Texas. And Jason Kubel making Jeremy Bonder work out there, as you see the American League home run leaders, with Cabrera checking in with his 22nd.
Bautista out of nowhere with 23 home runs. You would expect something out of Josh Hamilton with the ballpark that he plays in Texas, but not Bautista.
3-2 pitch in the air to center field, and Austin Jackson makes the play for the first out. And here are the 4 keys to the game.
Well, as far as Minnesota Twins, they've got to neutralize Maglio Ordonez. Since Maglio put on a Tigers uniform in 2006, he has just terrorized Twins pitching better than anybody else in the game, and the Tigers need to keep playing aggressive. Jim Leland said they're going to bunt, they're going to run, they're going to force the issue. He kind of likes the way they've been playing baseball these days.
Michael Kadire with 1 out. 1-0 the count to Kadire, who's hitting .263, 8 homers and 37 runs batted in.
He is the ultimate team player, and he will play everywhere Ron Gardenhire asked him to play. As a matter of fact, on this road trip, he's already had starts at third. He's had a start at right, and he's getting his 2nd consecutive start here at first base, with Morneau still suffering from concussion-like symptoms.
And that's a big problem here, as the pitch is fouled off 1-2. Justin Morneau, who is batting .345, 3rd in the league, leading in on-base percentage. And, of course, he won the All-Star vote for first base. First time since '68 the Twins had 2 starters voted in. But Morneau, because of his concussion problems, may not be able to play in the All-Star game. And if not, Miguel Cabrera would take over at first base for him.
No question about that.
1 ball and 2 strikes to Kadire. You mentioned playing third base. Last time he played third before a few weeks ago was back in 2005. And he stays alive. So Bonderman throwing a lot of pitches here in this 2nd inning. 15 thus far. Delman Young waiting to hit for the Twins. Twins have been in a downward cycle, and Ron Gardenhire says the All-Star game couldn't come at a better time as far as he is concerned.
Well, as a manager, you kind of know when your team needs a little bit of a break. It needs a little bit of a blow. And Gardenhire is sensing that in his club. But that and the fact they've got to get their starting pitching sorted out. That's one of the things that's kind of kept Minnesota in the race. Every year, their starting pitchers have been tremendous. They don't walk many. They pitch to lots of contact. Their team is always very good defensively because of that fact. But right now, they're not clicking on all cylinders.
Fewest walks given up in baseball, but there you see their record this month. Losing 6 out of 8. Here's the 2-2 pitch to Kadire, and a 1-hopper. Brandon Idge blocks it in front of him, makes the play for the 2nd out. Well hit, but right at Brandon Idge. And there are 2 down for the Twins here in the 2nd. That'll bring up Delman Young.
And Brandon Inge gets a bullet right at him and nowhere to go but get in front of it. And he didn't panic. He knew exactly Kadire was running, and he had plenty of time to still get the out. Brandon Inge is a really good defender for the Tigers And then down at third base.
And a great story coming off the knee surgery to both of his knees. And taking a pitch inside is Delmon Young, batting .305. He has 10 homers and 57 runs batted in. And he lost out for that final all-star spot, and how close it was down the stretch. Nick Swisher getting the nod. 2-0 the count to Delmon Young with 2 out.
The sky's the limit for Delmon Young. #1 player drafted overall back in 2003, the amateur draft. A wealth of talent, big, strong, physical guy. Is finally having a really good year in Minnesota.
2 down, the 2-0 pitch. And going around on the swing, and it's 2 balls and a strike. He was acquired from the Tampa Bay Rays in '07 for Matt Garza, the right-handed pitcher, and that would have to be a trade that you'd say obviously help both teams.
No question about that, but it was lopsided there for a while. Garza had taken off and done a very nice job, whereas Delmon had struggled first couple of years in Minnesota.
Brennan Bosch makes the catch in a 1-2-3 inning for Jeremy Bonderman. We're in the middle of the second. 2-0 Tigers. Taco Bell is sponsored by Budweiser. With full flavor and a crisp, clean finish, it's what we do. Tigers leading the Twins 2-0 on a 2-run homer by Miguel Cabrera. Carlos Guillen will be leading off, followed by Brandon Inge and Alex Avila in the second inning against Nick Blackburn. And the first pitch outside, ball 1. Guillen hitting .295. 5 homers and 28 runs batted in. The switch hitter was on the disabled list with a hamstring pull for 30 games and came back as a second baseman.
Well, that's because Brennan Bosch, the rookie outfielder, took his job from him. Jim Leland had to find a spot for him somewhere.
Two for 4 with a triple and 2 runs batted in last night. And Bosch, along with Austin Jackson, have been a revelation for Jim Leland. Said if I have to pick out the #1 factor as to why we are where we are, it's the emergence of these 2 rookies.
But you also have to look at the veteran players. You have to look at Maglio. You also have to look at Cabrera. You also have to look at Guillen, because these guys are all having good years, and that takes a lot of pressure off of the young kids when you have veteran players that have carried the load and they allow the youngsters to just come in and contribute.
And, of course, there's no question that, Cabrera and Valverde in the bullpen. But the things that maybe he didn't expect was the emergence of the rookies. Everyone had criticized the Curtis Granderson trade. How can you let a guy as valuable leave like this? Well, Austin Jackson came in and He wasn't the only one, but look at what Bosch and Jackson have done amongst the top rookie performers at the plate. 2-2 pitch in the air to left center field. Delman Young over there, and it's Young who makes the catch to retire again with the first out. Well, pick a stat, pick a player, build your baseball hot streak, correctly pick 10 straight, and win a Fox Sports baseball cap. Now, the current longest streak is at 30, held by Katie 316. So get your streak started today at foxsports.com/fantasy. Here is Brandon Inge. And Brandon Inge, the third baseman, takes a strike, 0-1. Inge having a big July, is 12 for 28 after ending June in an unceremonious 0 for 11. So he's come back strong. Here's a ball, and it's 1-1.
Brandon was an all-star last year, but he struggled the second half of the season. He had a couple of bad knees, which he had surgically repaired in the offseason, which meant he wasn't at full strength when the season started this year.
Punto at third on the easy hop makes the play to retire Inge, so there are 2 down to Alex Avila, the young catcher. 2 out here in the second inning. Nick Blackburn settling down after giving up a double and a home run and 2 runs in the first.
He's a ground ball thrower. When Blackburn is going good, he's at the bottom of the strike zone and throwing lots of ground balls, and he's got the perfect infield to back him up with Punto at third, Hardy at short, and of course Hudson's won some gold gloves over at second. Kadire playing first. Really good infield. They catch the baseball.
Here's Avila, and he takes a strike. Had 5 homers in 29 games last year. Drafted twice by the Tigers in 05 and 08, and his father Al is the assistant general manager with this ball club. 1-1 the count to Avila.
His godfather is Tommy Lasorda.
Well, I would say he's well represented family-wise.
No question about that.
Baseball career.
As a matter of fact, his middle name, Alex, his middle name is Thomas, named after Tommy Lasorda. And of course, his grandfather, Ralph Avila, longtime scout for the Dodgers in the Scout Hall of Fame. That's his father, Al Avila, who works here for the Tigers on a daily basis. He's the right-hand man to the general manager, David Dombrowski. But the Avila family, just an outstanding baseball family, and lucky to be here in Detroit.
3 balls and a strike with 2 out to Avila, who has 3 homers, but 2 of them have come off Minnesota pitching, and both on May the 5th. So Avila has gone deep against this Minnesota pitching staff. The 3-1 pitch, fly ball down the left field line. Delman Young chasing it, and it is gone. It's a home run for Alex Avila. His 4th homer and his 3rd against the Twins. And notice how cool his dad is, obviously. I see it cracking just a bit of a smile there.
He's trying.
And the Tigers have taken a 3-0 lead.
3-1 fastball. Looked like Blackburn tried to tilt it away from Avila. He stayed with it and had enough power to hit the ball into the Tigers' bullpen. It looks like the ball is carrying well here to left field today.
Earlier, the wind was blowing in, Rod, during batting practice, and then it was blowing slightly left to right. And if you look at the flags, you don't think that there's much of a wind. As Ramon Santiago hits a slow hit ball, Punto coming in to make the play. So Nick Punto having a great start to this game defensively. But Alex Avila's home run makes it 3-0, and we're going to talk All-Star game. We'll return to Detroit after a word from your local Fox station. J.J. Hardy, the Twins shortstop, leading off against Jeremy Bonderman here in the third inning with the Tigers in front 3-0. It'll be followed by Nick Punto in the top of the order, Denard Span. And the count now is 2-0, and we're very honored to have with us Bert Blyleven, who has the numbers necessary to get into the Hall of Fame, and it could come at any time, and we've said that many times, but we'll talk Hall of Fame another time. We're talking about the All-Star Game, and Bert, of course, you grew up in Anaheim. That's the scene of the All-Star Game this year, and the thing that I researched is that you had the biggest gap between All-Star appearances in the history of baseball. You appeared twice in '73 and again in '85, although you were named 3 times.
Yeah, I figured I had to pitch till '97 to make my third one, but no, anytime that you're involved, Rod and Dick, thank you for having me here. Anytime that you're involved, ground ball to short, I'll let you take that over.
And they can actually see that Hardy is retired.
But you know what? Anytime that you get an opportunity to be represented, you know, your American League, when I was in 1973 and then '87 with the Cleveland Indians going to the All-Star Game, it's quite an honor. But growing up in Southern California, I went to that first game in 1967. I was a sophomore in high school, that first All-Star Game in Anaheim, because the Angels moved there in '66 from L.A. And then, and of course, in 1989, I pitched for the Angels, did not make the All-Star team. Chuck Finley represented the pitching staff, and I had an opportunity to go to that ball game.
What was it like first seeing the All-Star Game, and then we'll ask you about playing it?
Well, you know what's so neat about going to this All-Star Game is that the one in '67, if you remember Anaheim Stadium, they had the big A out in, you know, right or left center. And then in '89, they had it where the Rams were in, so it was a full stadium. It looked like, you know, Cincinnati and that type, Pittsburgh type stadium. And now it's open again. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful.
What are some of your more memorable moments from the All-Star games that you were able to participate
in?
In
1973, I was 22 years old, so I was in awe because there, I think, were 14 future Hall of Famers on that ball club. I was supposed to pitch the 4th inning. I ended up pitching the 3rd inning because Catfish Hunter got a ball hit off his thumb, I believe, in the 2nd inning. Ken Holtzman went in. I thought he was going to go one more. They called down right away, and they said, well, Holtzie's just getting out of this inning. You've got next inning. And I mean, I wasn't even off the toilet. I was still, you know, I was so nervous. I had maybe 5 minutes to warm up. That's it. I went out there, and I think I walked the first 2 or 3 guys. And next thing I know, I gave up a couple runs, and I got the loss in that ball game.
Punto walks, and runner at first with 1 out. But tell me, you're 22. What was it like when you first walked into that clubhouse?
Oh, I felt like I didn't belong. You know, I mean, I saw Catfish Hunter. On the other side is Pete Rose and Joe Morgan and Willie Mays and, you know, just incredible. Johnny Bench was there and Hank Aaron was there. And I felt, you know, what am I doing here? And then I pitched 1 inning. I found out they were right. I shouldn't have been there. No, it was a lot of fun. In '89, it was a lot more, '85, it was a lot more fun because I felt, okay, I'm more established. I feel like, you know, I've put some good numbers up in my career. I feel like I should be part of this this All-Star game, and it was a lot of fun. Look at that skinny kid. What happened to him?
Players really enjoy going to the All-Star game. It's really a big deal to be chosen to go to the All-Star game, isn't it?
Base hit to right field, and sliding in with a double is Span with 1 out.
There's that pest stand right there. No, you know what? Going to an All-Star game, I think maybe about 7-8 years ago, there were guys that didn't want to go. And now Bud Selig put this in. I like what he did. I really do. That there's a purpose behind it. It's not an exhibition game anymore. It means something. Who has home field advantage during postseason?
So you like the setup men being chosen to the All-Star game now, and some of the platoon players like an Omar Infante or Ty Wigington of the American League, some of your role players, you kind of like that structure.
Oh, yeah, I sure do, because, you know, the game has changed so much from, you know, the 60s, 70s, and even last, you know, the 80s. Rod, you know, I mean, there's the setup guys are just as important as starters now, or the closer. And then the everyday players would like to be out there every day, but the Omar Infantes are the guys that pick up everybody, can play anywhere. We have a guy here in Minnesota, Nick Punto, that type of player.
Right, and you know, many years ago they would only pick starting pitchers. They didn't even pick relief pitchers. The starter would have to finish. But what better than to see a great reliever come in the 9th inning doing the job that he's meant to do?
Right, like a Raleigh Fingers.
Right.
Or a Lee Smith.
Runners at second and third with one out. And a strike one pitch, and it's going to be a base hit to left center field. And the Twins are going to get 2 runs back here as Orlando Hudson, with his second hit of the game, drives in 2. And after one out, the walk to Punto spans double, and Hudson with a single, and it's now a 3-2 game. The Tigers in front.
You talked about Denard Span, who doubled before that base hit by Orlando Hudson, but how valuable has Hudson been to your ball club this year?
Oh, he's been very valuable. I think, when we missed him, we didn't play very well because he had that wrist injury, but 4-time Rolling Gold Glove winner, a guy that's a steady hitter from both sides of the plate. He comes with a great attitude day in and day out. He's just a good guy to have in the clubhouse. And then there's a guy on deck right here that the Twins added, Jim Thome. Same type of class man.
Interesting that Morneau is a question mark, obviously, with the concussion as to whether he will go to Anaheim, and Cabrera would be his replacement. Not a bad one, huh?
No, not at all. I mean, you're talking about, a guy that might win the Triple Crown in Miguel Cabrera. Outstanding. You saw what he did in the bottom of the first inning against Blackburn. He's having a tremendous year, and it's a shame that I believe this is his first American League All-Star appearance. And he's been here how many years?
Third year.
And, this guy is an all-star day in and day out. And, yeah, Joe Mauer's going to be going for the Minnesota Twins. Justin, because of the mild concussion, might be missing it.
There's so much talent at that first base position. You start talking about Youkilis. You start talking about Cabrera. Then you've got Morneau. You've got the kid in Kansas City, in my opinion, Billy Butler. Outstanding young player. Deserves to be in the All-Star game. Konerko, you have so many. Teixeira. Right. I mean, first base is loaded.
2 balls and no strikes to Joe Mauer, who fly to left his first time up. Tying runners at first base. And a great play made by Cabrera, and a double play. And you won't see a niftier one in baseball.
Wow, what a play.
Bert Blyleven, thank you very much for being with us.
I don't like him. He's on the other team.
I know. But you got 2 runs back if you're a Twins fan. 3-2 the score. Thank you, Bert. Nick Blackburn's first pitch to Austin Jackson is fouled off for a strike. Austin Jackson double to the opposite field. In the first inning, he leads all American League rookies in runs, stolen bases, doubles, now 94 hits as well. He and Brennan Bosch have been a 1-2 parade for first-year players. And the count is 0-2. What a way to finish last inning, Ron.
Well, Cabrera came to the Tigers as a third baseman. They quickly shifted him to first base, and he has become quite good over there. Look at him lead the shortstop, Santiago, to the bag by throwing the ball over the head of Hudson. And, of course, he was able to get back to the bag to get the throw from Santiago. But what was impressive about that was the throw right over the head of the base runner, and it led him perfectly to second base. Outstanding job by Miguel Cabrera.
Jackson strikes out, and that is the first strikeout of the game for Nick Blackburn. And we got to give a few kudos to Ramon Santiago as well, because that throw, because it had to get over the runner, was high. He had to come up high, come down on the bag, and escape the charge of the runner and get the throw back. A 3-6-3 classic double play, ending the inning. So with one out, here's Johnny Damon, who bounced to shortstop on a slow roller this first time up, and he takes the ball 1-0.
Johnny Damon has had an outstanding career. As a matter of fact, he got his 2,500th hit just the other day here at Comerica Park. That is a lot of base hits. The 92nd member of that fraternity, 2,500 hits or more.
And then the next hit was more dramatic as far as Tiger fans were concerned. It was in the 11th inning, the walk-off home run. So 2005-01 was something special for Johnny Damon. And the count now is 3 balls and no strikes to the DH.
He's been a nice addition to the Tigers, batting in that number 2 spot. He's perfect, hitting right behind Jackson, right in front of Ordonez. And he's also a winner. A couple of World Series championships under his belt, always smiling. Real good teammate is Johnny Damon.
And the Yankees, of course, have the best record in baseball, but you ask them to a man, they miss Johnny Damon and what he meant to this team in the clubhouse and on the field. Bernard Span, and a high fly ball, and there are 2 down here in the third. Here is today's Mercedes-Benz trivia question. Who are the only 2 active players to have played on a National League winning All-Star team? Think about it. We'll have the answer a little later. 2 down, and Maglio Ordonez, who was reached on a fielder's choice, hit a hard shot that Nick Punto made, spun around and got Austin Jackson at the plate. Strike 1 to Ordonez, and that was the big defensive player early in the game. And then Miguel Cabrera hit a 2-run blast. 1-1 now to Ordonez. Tigers are 31-12 here at Comerica Park. That's the best home record in the American League, and they have won 16 of their last 18, and they have really feasted on the losing clubs, and that's what you got to do.
Well, Jim Leyland is one of the best managers in all of baseball, and one of the things that he does before games is he marches through the clubhouse. He's marching up and down that dugout during the course of the game, and he will not allow his team to quit. He really preaches 9 innings of real aggressive, hard-fought baseball. Very much old-school manager.
And I would say Ron Gardenhire is cut from the same mold. And we saw last night, 7-0 lead. Ended up to be a tough game. The Tigers had to use 4 relievers in that ball game. And Ordonez hits a drive down the left field line. And it is a gone. It's another home run. Ordonez waited at the plate. I thought he figured it was foul at first, but it's a home run, his 11th of the year, and the 3rd home run by the Tigers in as many innings.
The Tigers' 3, 4, 5, 6 hitters are absolutely lethal. That's a fastball inside that Maglio's able to buggy whip right inside that fair pole down the left field line. Tremendous bat speed by Maglio Ordonez this year.
Here is Miguel Cabrera, and he takes strike 1. Ordonez now with 56 runs batted in.
Maglio Ordonez could very easily be an all-star this year himself.
There are 3 Tigers who have already knocked in over 50 runs on the year. Behind third, loved by Punto in the dirt, and a great play made by Kadire. Long throw by Punto, who's had a busy day, but Ordonez's homer gives the Tigers a 4-2 lead. easy on you. By Burger King, who reminds you to have it your way. And by Ink, the new business card from Chase. Make your mark with Ink. Jim Thome taking a ball to start the fourth inning. He struck out his first time up as the Tigers lead the Twins 4-2. Coming into this fourth inning, good pitch by Bonderman off the fist, fouled away, and it's 1-1.
That's where you have to pitch, Jim Thome, these days. You've got to crowd him with fastballs above the belt buckle, and you can jam him if you do so, but do not throw the ball down and in to Thome.
2 balls and a strike to Thome, who has 4 homers in his career off of Jeremy Bonderman. Of course, Thome has made a living playing in the AL Central. He's with the Indians, the White Sox, now the Twins, and of course a bit with the Dodgers last year. Big swing and a foul at the plate, 2-2 the count, and he got it off of his foot there.
One of the things that Bonderman has not done well this afternoon, he is only 4 of 13 in first pitch strikes to the Minnesota Twins, and that's what you cannot do during the course of a game and expect to win. You've got to attack the strike zone with strike one, and that allows you to get to the edges and elevate some pitches out of the strike zone, which is what Bonderman needs to do to be successful here the remainder of the way.
Fly ball to left center field. Brennan Bosch coming over and makes the catch, cutting in front of Jackson for out number 1. Talking with Jim Leland, the Tigers manager, yesterday 7 runs, 11 hits, no homers. Today already he's going long ball.
Yeah, well, it's carrying pretty good to left field, so it's a dangerous day for pitchers, obviously.
You've got to be pleased at this point. You're seeing the starting pitching coming into shape. The rookies, the 2 rookies have been outstanding, and Cabrera's having an amazing year.
Yeah, we're a pretty versatile team right now. The young kids have done pretty well, and the veterans have really made it easier for them to break in. And that's that transition. The veterans make it easier for the rookies to break in if the veterans are doing well, and they've done that.
Jim, you've been around the baseball a long, long time, but have you ever seen a rookie come on the scene like Brennan Bosch, and what makes him so special?
Well, I guess Albert Pujols and a few guys have, but he's just a guy that lets it fly. I think the biggest thing about him is that, the media is making a big deal about him. That's one thing, which rightfully so. But I think the most amazing thing is players from other teams are making good remarks about him. And when your peers are talking about you, that's always a nice thing.
Jim, of course, the All-Star game is Tuesday. You know what it's like to manage it. You've done a couple of times, and to know that it means something with home field advantage in the World Series hanging in the balance.
No, there's no question about it. And that's what it's all about. I think the guys will compete real hard. I know the 2 years we won 1 and we lost 1. I know the 1 year didn't mean anything, and last time it did. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And of course, we got home field advantage.
Jim, thanks for being with us.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
No problem.
The American League is dominated, and the National League wants a piece of the pie. They'd like to have that home field advantage, so that'll be what's at stake on Tuesday in Anaheim. The All-Star game exclusively on Fox.
The American League might get a little bit of run for their money this year with some of the National League pitching.
I agree with you.
When you start talking about a Roy Halladay and that kid in Florida, Josh Johnson, Ubaldo Jimenez of the Colorado Rockies, that front 3, that can shut down the best hitters in all of baseball.
Michael Kadire grounded to third his first time up. And the count 2 balls and 1 strike to Kadire. There they are. Jimenez, Halladay, and Johnson. Very impressive. And I'd be surprised if we didn't see the 3 in action. And a fly ball hit deep to left, and this is way out of here. Michael Kadire with a long home run. And Jim Leyland certainly knew what he was talking about. Tough for the pitchers today. Kadire with his 9th home run of the year. And the Twins now have come within a run once again. It's 4-3. Tigers still in front.
Kadire's a nice player, and we talked about all the positions that he plays, but last year when Justin Morneau went down with a back injury, it was Kadire that drove in 29 runs in the month of September and October, and he was the main reason why the Minnesota Twins were able to catch the Tigers to tie for the division on the very last day of the season. He had an outstanding last month of the year, did Kadire.
Delman Young facing Jeremy Bonderman. Young fly to left his first trip to the plate. So we've already had 4 homers in this game, and all of them have come with 2 outs. And a 1 hopper to Inge at third. And that'll do it for the Twins in the fourth, but they inch closer again. And it's a 4-3 Tiger lead as we move to the bottom of the fourth. In the bottom of the fourth inning, leading the Twins 4-3, and Brennan Bosch will lead off against Nick Blackburn. And the first pitch taken for a ball. Bosch bounced to second his first time up, and came into today needing 5 at-bats to qualify amongst the batting leaders in the American League. Hits this to the opposite field. J.J. Hardy throws out Bosch, 1 away. Talk with Ron Gardenhire, the Twins manager. Well, Ron, it looks like you're playing catch-up a little earlier in the game today.
Yeah, but that's all right. You know what? The guys are getting after it, and we put some swings out there. We just have to put a 0 up in that bottom slot up there one time.
Ron, talk about your new ballpark for a moment. I know it's been well documented that some of the guys are doing a lot better away from Target Field than your ballpark at home. What's the difference?
You know what? It's a great ballpark. It's beautiful. We've actually got a pretty decent record at home. I know the ball doesn't carry as well as center field and all those things, but you know what? It's as good as it gets as far as ballpark goes. Our fans, it's wonderful for them. So we just got to keep winning there and figure out how to win a little bit on the road too.
And I guess the test is always, to keep that even keel, which you've done in the past, knowing you have like a half a season to go and you're only 3 in arrears.
Yeah, it's a long season. You just got to keep battling. The boys are getting after it, and when things are turning around, you just got to keep grinding it.
Thank you, Ron.
All right, guys, thanks.
And of course, Ron said, I'd like to get that 0 on that board, but now with 1 out, Carlos Guillen with a double down the right field line is in scoring position with Brandon Inge coming to the plate.
Ron Gardenhire is one of the best managers in all of baseball. Since he took over in 2002, he has won 5 division championships. He has never won a Manager of the Year award. He has gotten more with less. I'm talking about the finances than any manager in all of baseball. The Twins have always been known as a small market ball club.
And they have competed at the highest level. Here is Inge, takes inside for ball 1. Guillen is on at second with 1 out, and Tigers looking to keep more than an arm's length ahead of the Twins. They were in front 3-0 at one point. Minnesota came back with 2 runs in the 3rd inning. And then the Tigers with another home run, this by Ordonez, made it 4-2. And Minnesota came back with one. Nick Blackburn facing Brandon Inge. With the runner at second and one out. 1-1 the count here in the fourth. Slap to the right side. Play made by Orlando Hudson. The throw to first in time as Guillen goes to third. Big play by Hudson. A long way to run, Ron.
Hudson has won 4 Gold Gloves with 3 different teams, Toronto, Arizona, and the Los Angeles Dodgers. And if he keeps making plays like these, he'll win a Gold Glove with the Minnesota Twins. An outstanding defender with tremendous range at second base.
And he was shaded over almost behind second base on the shift.
It wasn't so much the play that was made, it was gathering himself after he was able to corral the baseball and getting himself in a position to make an accurate throw to Kadire, the first baseman.
Alex Avila takes ball one inside. Avila hit a home run right down the left field line into the bullpen. Avila has 4 home runs, 3 of them against Minnesota pitching. And Guillen is on at third with 2 down. And another breaking ball, and it's 2-0 to the Tiger catcher. There's Carlos Guillen, who doubled with 1 out here in the fourth. And a shot hit to Hudson, who's playing in perfect position to make the play. Guillen is stranded at third, and we've completed 4 here in the Motor City with the Tigers leading the Twins 4-3. Presented by Taco Bell. Top of the 5th inning, J.J. Hardy will be followed by Nick Punto in the top of the order. Denard Span against Jeremy Bonderman. Fouls off the first pitch for a strike. Hardy bounced to short his first time up, and played with Milwaukee last year, 27-year-old, and he suffered an injury against the Tigers early in May when he injured his wrist and was on the disabled list twice. And the count now is 0-2.
Part of that new middle of the infield that the Twins have brought over for the 2010 season. Hudson at second, Hardy at shortstop.
Pops this one up in the center of the infield, and Brandon Inge will make the play before tripping a bit on the mound. And there's one out. So Nick Punto coming up with one out here in the 5th inning, and we might. Nick Punto, here was his reaction to Michael Kadyr's home run in the 4th.
Oh, he got you. He dropped your head on you. He dropped that head on him.
This is what he's talking about. Bat head right here on the baseball. Head down. Great concentration by Kadir.
And Punto lifts a fly ball to left field. Playable for Brennan Bosch. And he makes the catch for 2 out. And that's an expression that you always hear players in the dugout talk about when you get it right, huh?
Especially on balls that are down and in, either to the right-handed batter or the left-handed batter. Really, all you have to do is drop the bat head, and you allow the pitcher to supply the majority of the power.
Denard Span doubled and came around and scored back in the 3rd inning on Hudson's 2-run single. Shows bunt and takes ball 1.
Span is a nice table setter. As a matter of fact, he does his best work against Tigers pitching. Since coming to the major leagues in 2008, he has played better against the Tigers than any other team in the American League. He's always on base. He's hitting triples. He plays well defensively. He's a real good player for the Minnesota Twins. He's going to be there for a while. They inked him to a 5-year extension after his rookie season.
26 years old, hitting .350 coming into the game this year against the Tigers. And there's a call strike, 2 balls and a strike. The Twins were trailing 3-0 when Punto walked with 1 out in the 3rd, and Span doubled down the right field line. Orlando Hudson with a flare to left center field knocked them both in. He might have gotten more, but Maurer hit into a 3-6-3 double play started by Miguel Cabrera, who made a great stop on a hard hit shot. Fly ball, late start by Austin Jackson, but he makes the play in a 1-2-3 inning for Jeremy Bonderman. Halfway through this game, 4.5 innings gone. We're going to see Al Kaline coming up in our booth in just a moment. Taco Bell, think outside the bun. And welcome back to Comerica Field here in Detroit. The Tigers lead the Twins 4-3. And it'll be the number 9 hitter, Ramon Santiago, the switch hitting shortstop, and then the top of the order against Nick Blackburn in a tight ball game in which the home run has taken center stage. And we are more than honored, I would have to say, to have Al Kaline, Mr. Tiger, now in a franchise that has sported so many great players over the years. Al Kaline right there with the greatest of them. Fly ball, and that's going to go over the head of Delman Young and off the wall. And Santiago will go in the second with a lead-off double to start the 5th inning. We're talking All-Star game, and Al Kaline appeared in 18 of them in his career. The first one was in 55. Rod, take us through this swing first.
Well, Delman Young in left field playing Santiago very shallow because Santiago does not have a lot of power the opposite way, but we've well documented the fact that the wind is blowing out to left field at a pretty crisp pace, and he got burned there.
Al, your first All-Star game in 55, the experience.
Well, I tell you what, 20-year-old kid, having a great year, a breakout year for me, really. And to be voted into the All-Star game and being in the locker room with all those great players. Actually, I grew up watching the Yogi Berras, the Whitey Fords. Of course, Mickey Mantle was one of my really favorite players of all time. He was there, and so many Minoso, Nellie Fox. A lot of people out there don't remember all those names, but it was, for me, a 20-year-old kid, quiet. I just sat there and watched everything and tried to shake hands and meet them. And I didn't get any autographs. That's one thing I feel bad about. I never got any autographs.
Well, you know what? You were, as a player, you were one of the most stylish, classy players ever to put on a uniform. And you were low-key. You went about your business. And you didn't seem to be a kind of guy who would do that, even though now you wish you had me.
I did. In fact, I went over to the Twins locker room yesterday, and I had to go get Jerry White to go get me an autograph. I said, I'm embarrassed to ask for it.
That's what I mean.
I'm embarrassed to ask for an autograph, and I don't mind signing an autograph. I mean, if a player comes to me or a former player, I'm more than happy. It doesn't take any of my time.
Whose autograph did you want?
The catcher, of course.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I mean, you played in so many All-Star games, Al. Is there any one or two that kind of stick out as being more memorable for you?
Well, the first one really does. When you make it for the first time and you get to meet all those players. Unfortunately, I played in so many of them. We didn't win many games back in that era. And, of course, the game that we played at Tiger Stadium, and I was fortunate enough to be selected for the team, not as a starter, but to get a chance to play in front of my home fans. I'll certainly remember that. But the experiences of meeting all the players was great.
1951, the All-Star game was held at Briggs Stadium in Detroit. But then at Tiger Stadium later on, Reggie Jackson, you were here and you witnessed Reggie Jackson's mammoth home run.
It's one of the hardest hit balls I've ever seen hit. And the people don't realize, as we take a look at it again, I believe, he had 2 strikes on him. And usually you try to protect the plate, but not Reggie. He hits this ball so hard, it would have gone over Woodward Avenue, I'm sure.
Doc Ellis was the pitcher, the Pittsburgh Pirate right-hander.
Al, let's talk about this Tigers team for just a moment. Obviously, you've got Miguel Cabrera here. You've been in the Tigers organization for a long, long time. You've seen lots of great players. Please rank him for me as to how special he is.
He is the best hitter I've ever seen in the Tiger uniform, and I played with some really good ones. He is just special. And here's a guy that doesn't run real well. He has a chance to lead the league in hitting, super power, and power to all fields. You just don't see that in players anymore. He's just special.
I wanted to ask you about the years that there were 2 All-Star games, and of course they had it for the Players' Pension Fund. What was it like to play an All-Star game and then several weeks later then play in another one?
Yeah, that's when the All-Star games got to be a little rough to play because you want to be selected, and then all of a sudden that second when you say, boy, I would like to have that day off, and sometimes when you had to fly across country to play, it took a little bit out of you, but we knew what it was for. It was for the pension fund. It was trying to get it, started real well and get some money in the pension fund, and it was kind of tough.
Talking with Al Kaline, the Tiger great, 3,000 hits, a Hall of Famer. Austin Jackson with the count, 3 balls and 2 strikes, none out. Santiago on at second base. Tigers leading 4-3, and we're talking All-Star game with Al Kaline. Of course, you'll see it on Fox exclusively Tuesday night from Anaheim. And ball 4, and Jackson draws a walk. So runners now at first and second, and nobody out. What is the greatest amount of respect from an opposing player that you ever received when you were a performer?
Oh, wow. You get the All-Star games, you get a chance to meet some of them and get to be friendly with them. I remember playing who was my all-time favorite player was Stan Musial, and I had a chance to talk to him a little bit, and he said that he really enjoyed watching me play, and he says always keep playing and enjoy the game, and to get words from who I thought was one of the great players. It really doesn't get the recognition that he deserves as being one of the greatest players of all time.
Al, with the games meaning something now, we talked to Jim Leland earlier, and he talked about the experience that he had after the 06 not World Championship, but they got to the World Series, so he managed the American League team in 07. You were the honorary manager or captain on that team. What was it like then opposed to earlier when the games really didn't mean anything?
You know what? I think the players today, with this new rule about the home field advantage, has really helped the players really get into the game a lot more and play. Back, when we played, a lot of guys would show up, get my one turn of bat, 3 at bats, and get out of there and go home.
Johnny Damon, the batter, and after a meeting at the mound, and Damon going to talk to his third base coach, Gene Lamont, to see whether they may be bunting here with Ordonez and Cabrera to follow with nobody out and a chance for the Tigers to have a big inning. So Damon, who is 0 for 2 on the day, and runners at first and second, and Hardy is shaded towards second to keep Santiago close. The 1-0 pitch and a foul ball down the right field line. Very close.
That's why Jim Leland allowed Damon to swing at least at 1 strike. That doesn't mean he's going to swing again. He might bunt here, but Jim always thinks when the opposing team is looking for the bunt, why not give a guy like Damon, a veteran player that knows what to do with the bat, an opportunity to take 1 swing at that fastball right down the middle.
Johnny's been a big part of this ball club since they got it, not only on the field but off the field. He really takes care of the young players, the rookies coming up. And, of course, he's been a winner every place he's been, and he brings a lot to the ball club, not just on the field.
We saw Brian Dunsing warming up for the Twins in the bullpen, and the pitch is taken for a ball 2-1. The 1961 Tigers may have been one of the better teams that never won. Wouldn't you say? You won over 100 games and the Yankees won anyway.
That's one of the weird years you'll ever see in baseball, where you win 100 games and still finish far out of the first place. And the Yankees, I think, won 110 games that year or something like that. And it was something that we had a good offensive team. We scored a lot of runs. We had some great players on that team. Cash and Colavito, myself, we all had big years. Of course, we scored a lot of runs, but we won in the Yankee Stadium, I think, a game out, and we came back, I think, 5-6 games after they swept us.
It was a 4-game series. Don Mossy started that first game in September.
We got beat 2 games, 1-0.
Yes.
And Yogi Berra never lets me live it down either. He was playing left field, and we're going in the 9th inning. I hit a ball over the bag, and he fielded and threw me out at second base.
There's a drive, deep right field, way back, gone. 3-run homer for Johnny Damon.
We've seen some pretty good balls in here today, haven't we?
I haven't seen balls fly out of Comerica Park at this pace in a long, long time.
And the Tigers lead it 7-3. And that'll be all for Nick Blackburn, who twice has given up 4 home runs in a game, both in the 08 season against the Orioles and the Brewers. And once again, Blackburn gives up 4 home runs, and it's a 7-3 Tiger lead. We're going to have a pitching change, and we'll come back and talk more with Al Kaline. Back here in Detroit, Maglio Ordonez facing the new Twins pitcher Brian Dunsing after Johnny Damon hitting a 3-run homer, 4 homers off Tiger bats, and a shot handled by Punto. He's been busy, and he's been very good so far in this game. And let's take another look at Johnny Damon's home run.
It's why Jim Leland allowed him to swing. Blackbird, not a strikeout pitcher, and Damon, a veteran hitter. He got the pitch he was looking for at the top of the strike zone. It was a fastball and did not miss it. And we talk about that imaginary line that you can draw right down the center of a player's body when swinging the bat, and that's exactly what Johnny Damon gives you right there. It doesn't get much better than that from the left side.
Miguel Cabrera. So Ordonez 1 for 3 with a home run, and Damon with a homer. Alex Avila in the number 8 spot, getting a home run down the left field line, and the foul out of play, and it's 1-1. Of all the ballparks that you played in all of those All-Star games, Al, which maybe stood out for you?
Well, you know, I had a chance to all the stadiums I played in were the older ones, and I was glad to get a chance to play in some of the parks, particularly the ones in the National League. Sportsman's Park in St. Louis, I really enjoyed playing there, and to get the chance to play on the same field as my all-time favorite Stan Musial was so great at all those years. And Pittsburgh, the old Pittsburgh Stadium, I hit a home run there, and Kansas City up in the old ballpark there. So all the stadiums I played in were the old ones, which I was really happy to get a chance to play.
Here's a look at your home run at Forbes Field in Pittsburgh.
I think that was off of Lou Burdett, I believe. He threw me a spitter that I got on the dry side.
18-time All-Star Al Kaline, and that was at Forbes Field, and that was at Ivy, and that looked like the home run that Bill Mazeroski hit.
Same thing, yeah.
It looked very similar to that. And and you were just telling us during the pitching change, you never got to play at Ebbets Field.
No, I really would like to have done that. You know, you see it on TV, you read about it, but I never had a chance to play there, and that's the one thing I regret. I had a chance to be at Wrigley Field, a great ballpark, of course, Fenway Park, but Ebbets Field I would have really loved to have played there.
Al, briefly talk about what your role is here with the ball club. I know since I've come here in 2003, you're always around, but talk about your role with the club.
Well, first of all, I was an analyst for the ball club for many, many years, working with George Kell for many years, Ernie Hartwell for 1 year, Frank Beckman, and when Mr. Ilitch bought the ball club, he had asked me if I would move into the front office and help him give my opinion on what's going on, and I was more than happy to do it because I knew Mr. Ilitch well. He's a good friend of mine, and of course, I love the Tigers, and I would do anything I could to give my opinion, good and bad. And Willie Horton also was moved into the front office with me. And Willie and I, we work spring training. We'll do whatever Mr. Ilitch or Dave Dombrowski asked us to do.
Well, Rod asked you, of course, your thoughts about Miguel Cabrera. They were glowing, the most glowing. What about Brendan Bosch and what you've seen of this rookie?
Well, Bosch is special. In fact, he asked me today, he says, Mr. Kaline, he says, I'm in a home run slump. He says, what should I do? I said, just keep hitting the ball hard, young man, and home runs will come.
Well, there's an example of that. He hit that one hard, and it's going to be off the base of the wall. Cabrera, who had walked, will be held at third and in at second with a double. Following the advice of the master, Al Kaline, is Brendan Bosch. Runners at second and third. Still one out. And
let's take a look at Brendan Bosch here. This is against all-star pitchers this year. These guys are going to Anaheim. You've got Phil Hughes, you've got Cliff Lee, you've got CeCe Sabathia, you've got Matt Thornton. A lot of these guys are left-handers, and Brendan Bosch has done a tremendous amount of damage against all these guys, which really makes him awfully special. You got the one right-hander there, Jonathan Broxton, but the damage he's been able to do against left-handers is unbelievable, and you can add Dunsing to that list.
He's been special. He comes with great credentials, but certainly we didn't expect something like this. And in spring training, we saw somebody who had a lot of confidence. We didn't know how well he was going to do being in the big leagues, but he's really special.
He's one of those guys that grew up around baseball. His father took him to a baseball game at Dodger Stadium when he was 7 years old, and from that day forward, Brendan Bosch said, I want to be a Major League Baseball player. At age 7, he knew he wanted to be a big league player.
Well, I want to find out about another one who didn't go to the minor leagues. It was age 20, got to the big leagues in a second. Bosch, by the way, batting .444 against pitchers named to the All-Star game. And Carlos Guillen fouls it out of play, and the count, 1 ball and 1 strike. And now he's batting .459 after that double against left-handed pitchers. But you came out of the Sandlots in Baltimore.
Yes.
Who was your team? Who were your favorites there? Because they didn't have a major league club then.
No, oddly enough, the Washington Senators was the closest team to my house where I lived in Baltimore. The Orioles were the St. Louis Browns at that time. And, of course, I wanted to stay home. I never really did a lot of traveling. And I wanted to, play for the Senators. And oddly enough, and this is a coincidence, I guess, that's the only team that didn't offer me a major league contract.
And they could have used you, to say the least, what you say.
Well, I was very fortunate back in those days. If you signed a contract for over $6,000, you had to stay in the big leagues. And I had offers from 2 other clubs for a lot more money than what Detroit. But I didn't, I saw the lineup that they had, and I said, man, I'm not going to be able to play with the Tigers, who are in last place. Maybe I'll get a chance to play.
And you got more than a chance to play. Well, 2-1 to Guillen. Runners at second and third, 1 out. Infield is playing in for a possible play at the plate with a 4-run Tiger lead, and now the count 2-2.
Just one little funny story, and I know you know this story about Brennan Bosch. We're talking about him and how he just loves to play the game. I know you guys have heard this story. When he was in the 7th grade, he was struggling in math, and his math teacher told him, you know what, you got to pick it up a little bit. Your grade is starting to slip in math. He says, wait a minute now. He says, I've got to practice in my baseball swing. I'm going to be a big league baseball player. This math stuff's kind of getting in my way. But that kind of puts him into perspective. I'm talking about Brennan Bosch.
And, of course, you mentioned Ebbets Field. If you had played in Ebbets Field, you would have hit about 100 more home runs than you hit, because that would have been a perfect ballpark for you, Al.
Well, you know what? You can say that, but, I was not a home run hitter. I was telling Brendan that, I used the whole field, mostly right center, left center, and every once in a while you lift the ball and it's out of there. But I don't think I'd have. If I'd have played at Fenway Park, I might have hit a few more home runs. But you know what? I might have made some more line drive outs, too. And, I was perfectly pleased playing at Tiger Stadium. It's a great hitter's ballpark.
Kevin Slowey warming up in the Twins bullpen. And there is Alex Avila.
Ron Gardenhire said that Slowey would be in his bullpen today. Obviously, with the All-Star game coming up, Slowey, one of his starters. And their bullpen has been depleted on this road trip. They have really struggled. And Ron Gardenhire needed an extra arm out there.
So almost as a Detroit Tigers now, I hate to see the All-Star game coming. They're playing so well.
And meanwhile, the Minnesota Twins, and that has been a team that has always competed. No matter what their payroll has been, they have really been a great franchise over the years.
Well, in the Central Division, if you think you're going to win, you have to go through the Minnesota Twins. They have been outstanding year in, year out. They are a professional team that come to play every day. Their role players do a great job, and, of course, they have some star players. But it's a great franchise. They do a wonderful job of recruiting and drafting people.
Bases are loaded with 2 out, and 0-1 the count to Alex Avila, who is the 9th hitter to come up here in the 5th inning for the Tigers, who have scored in every inning but the 4th, and they stranded a runner at 3rd in that inning. Avila with a home run with 2 down, back in the 2nd inning, and the count 1-1. This is great for Detroit, isn't it? I mean, you've seen the good times, the down times, and now the good times again.
This is a great franchise. It really is. All they want is an effort from the players, and they get that. They support the team. They're very knowledgeable about the game. It's just a great place to play.
Line drive, right field, and it's caught by Kubel to end it all. But we want to thank you, Al Kaline. Great to have you here. The Tigers get 3 and lead 7-3. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Domains, websites, and everything in between. By Verizon. Own the airwaves. The signal is yours. Verizon, rule the air. And by Chevrolet. Every model is backed by a 100,000-mile, 5-year powertrain limited warranty. Twins batting in the 6th against Jeremy Bonderman, and the breaking ball in the dirt to Orlando Hudson. Hudson is a single in the 1st inning and a 2-run single into left center in the 3rd. He's 2 for 2 and has driven in 2 of the 3 Twins runs. So be followed by Joe Mauer and Jim Thome. And a fly ball hit deep to left field. Brennan Bosch on the warning track makes the catch for the first out. Well, once again, today's Mercedes-Benz trivia question. Who are the only 2 active players to have played on a National League winning All-Star team? And it has been a while. And the answer, Chipper Jones and Jason Kendall, and both played for the National League in the 96 game in Philadelphia. And that is the most recent time that the National League has won an All-Star game.
Wow, the American League has just dominated the senior circuit.
And I remember when it was the other way around, and the National League had a big string of wins. Here's Joe Mauer. And Mauer will be the starting catcher. And 3rd most votes by the fans all time, behind Ken Griffey Jr. and Albert Pujols, who last year had the 2nd most. And the pitch in for a strike to Mauer, who has fly to left and bounced into that 3-6-3 double play that ended the 3rd.
Mauer would have hit the free agent market after this season, but the Minnesota Twins have signed him to a lengthy, and I mean lengthy, lucrative deal, which will keep him in a Minnesota Twins uniform, hopefully for the remainder of his career. That is good for baseball.
And a very popular player, and that is why, and the fans vote for the All-Stars, popularity does count. His numbers, as you pointed out, may not be anywhere near what they were a year ago at this time, but Joe Mauer represents something, and he has achieved that popularity point where he got to this.
Outstanding player and probably a better person, playing in his hometown of Minnesota. 297 as we speak. A year ago we were talking about him flirting with 400. That's how well he was going. 389 with 47 RBIs a year ago. So clearly Joe Mauer having a down year by his standards, but 297 is not bad for most players.
Took something off that pitch, and it rolls foul down the right field line. It remains 2-2, and a souvenir for a youngster who, the bonnet against that sun, that we have a strong sun today here in Detroit, but a beautiful afternoon.
Shadows are starting to come into play here today with the pitcher in the sun, and you can see that some shadows are starting to develop right around home plate, which is going to make it a little bit more difficult for the hitters to see the baseball today.
Foul at the plate, so the count remains 2-2. Mauer won his 3rd batting title last year, going to his 4th All-Star game. He's the MVP. You mentioned the 2 Gold Gloves that he's won. And the Twins spending a lot of money to keep him in-house, preventing them from perhaps making other moves.
Well, no doubt he would have gone to the Yankees or the Boston Red Sox, and they were hot and heavy in the Cliff Lee. Trying to get him from Seattle, but they really didn't have enough to give to the Seattle Mariners to acquire Cliff Lee. Of course, he went to the Texas Rangers. The Twins were willing to give up some blue chip prospects. They were willing to give up quality, but they weren't willing to give up 5-6 players like Jack Zarincic, the Seattle general manager, was asking for. Nolan Ryan, Texas president, did give up those players.
Mauer hits a fly ball down the line. Bosch in foul territory makes the catch for out number 2. And now, time now for a DirecTV game break. Top of the 7th inning, Toronto leading 8-5. Jason Frazier gets Mike Cameron looking. He doesn't like the call and is ejected by umpire Jeff Kellogg. And that brings Terry Francona out of the dugout to argue the call. And then Kellogg ejected Francona as well. And the Toronto Blue Jays wind up winning, beating the Red Sox, evening that series at 1-1. And these are the final games prior to the All-Star break. Jim Thome struck out, fly to left. at the plate with 2 down.
Terry Francona is probably the manager of the year in the American League. When you start talking about playing without Ellsbury and Pedroia and the start that Big Papi got off to, Beckett being on the disabled list, he has done a marvelous job in Boston keeping them in the hunt.
14 players on the disabled list. This is going to be another foul ball hit by Tommy, and it's 1-2, and Beckett should be coming back soon. They're not sure of Victor Martinez. It won't be that soon. And of course Ellsbury's rejoined the club, but they don't know what's really the situation with him after going to the West Coast with his problems. So the Red Sox are hanging in there and coming into today's play 5 games behind the Yankees, but only 2 behind the Rays, and now it's a 2.5 game gap. That pitch misses outside. 2 balls and 2 strikes. And your thought on the Cliff Lee deal? Everyone thought he was headed for the pinstripes, and he winds up in Texas.
Well, he'll be in New York when it's all said and done. They usually get the best player every single year that hits the free agent market.
Fly ball, right center field. And Jackson had a beat on it all the way, makes the catch. 1-2-3 inning for Bonderman, who has retired 7 in a row. 7-3 Tigers.
Park this afternoon, 4 by the Tigers, 1 by the Minnesota Twins. Comerica Park usually does not yield that many gopher balls, but Blackburn could not get the ball down, and for that he paid for it. Cabrera, Avila, Ordonez, and Damon for the Tigers, and Kadire for the Minnesota Twins have played long ball today.
Kevin Slowey making his 3rd appearance as a relief pitcher. Last came in relief in 2007 as a rookie, normally a starter, and facing Ramon Santiago, and the count no balls and 2 strikes to the Tigers shortstop, who doubled and came around and scored with Austin Jackson on Johnny Damon's 3-run homer last inning. 9 men came to the plate for the Tigers, who lead at 7-3, and it's 1-2 to Santiago.
Minnesota's bullpen not in real good shape. They were beat up in Toronto, and they've been beat up here at Comerica Park the last night. And so that's why Slowey, a starter, is pitching in relief, and the fact that the All-Star game is coming up on Tuesday.
Fly ball right center field, and diving catch made by Denard Span. Timing it perfectly. It hasn't been easy with the sun for those outfielders catching some of those drives. Bosch has had a couple of good ones. Austin Jackson for the Tigers, and now Span with a terrific play to retire Santiago.
A couple of real good center fielders in this game, and the only way you make a play like this if you're Denard Span is you're off at the crack of the bat and you take a direct route to get you to the baseball.
And his opposite number at center field, Austin Jackson. 1 for 2 with a walk and a double. Swings on the first pitch and lifts it out to Delman Young in left field. And he makes the catch. So quickly there are 2 down here in the 6th inning. And our Verizon game summary. Tigers have 7 runs on 4 homers. 8 hits, all for extra bases. And we saw Kadyr's solo homer in the 4th as Rod Allen took us through all of the blasts out of this ballpark, which normally keeps the ball in the park. Here's Johnny Damon. And he takes a call strike. Big 3-run homer by Damon. And it was a close game at the time, 4-3. And with nobody out, 2 on, Damon with a deep drive to right.
Johnny Damon provides a lot more than just batting average, as Al Kaline was talking when he was up here an inning ago. He provides leadership in the clubhouse, off the field. He scored over 1,500 runs in his career, over 2,500 hits, and he's closing in on 500 doubles. What an outstanding career it has been for Johnny Damon. And he started his career playing for Kansas City. Kansas City wasn't really that good when he came up. Then he went to Boston, New York, of course, a couple of really good teams, and that's where he won a couple of championships.
Father, a U.S. Army Staff Sergeant. He grew up in military bases in Germany and Okinawa, and a longtime supporter of the Wounded Warriors program in Iraq and Afghanistan. As Damon strikes out, 1-2-3 inning for Slowey, and we'll return to Detroit after a word from your local Fox station. Presented by Taco Bell. We've completed 6 innings here at Comerica Park in Detroit, and the Tigers in front of the Twins 7-3, and Daniel Schlereth is the new pitcher for Detroit. The 24-year-old left-hander facing Jason Kubel, and his first pitch is in for a strike. Schlereth, making his third appearance, was called up July the 2nd from AAA Toledo, where he had a 2.83 earned run average in 28 appearances. Pitched against the Orioles last Tuesday in an inning and 2/3. Fly ball deep to center field and over the head of Austin Jackson. Kubel will stop at second with the leadoff double.
Looked like Jackson had Kubel shaded over in right center field. Therefore, the ball got up in that jet stream that's blowing left today, and Jackson could not run it down.
And Jim Leyland coming to the mound. Michael Kadire, Robbie Weinhardt, who has been quite a workhorse and has been tremendous. As you see that swing again by Kubel. And Weinhardt, who pitched successfully last night, gets the call again from Jim Leyland. Well, Daniel Schlereth couldn't get the left-handed hitting Jason Kubel out, so now they bring in Robbie Weinhardt, who making his third appearance, facing Michael Kadire with a runner at second and nobody out here. And the first pitch is strike 7-3, and Weinhardt came up Wednesday against the Orioles, so he has pitched Wednesday, Friday, and now today.
Well, he pitched in last night's game, and Justin Verlander, who got his 11th win in the ball game last night for the Tigers, pitched 5 2/3 innings, but he left the bases loaded. Weinhardt came in to face Delman Young, and he got a double play ball to get out of that jam. And of course, the Tigers went on to win that ball game. Weinhardt's got a real good sinker to his arm slide, about 92, 93, and a slider. Not many changeups from Weinhardt. There's Verlander, one of the best pitchers in all of baseball.
Kadire homered in the 4th inning. And he chops that foul, though the count remains no balls and 2 strikes. Weinhardt is a 24-year-old from Pearland, Texas. 10th round pick in the 2008 draft. He pitched at Oklahoma State, and as a senior he went 6-0 and struck out 70 batters in 44 innings. That'll get notices. 0-2 pitch reaching out is Kadire, and a fly ball, and it is gloved by Maglio Ordonez in right field. Tagging up and going to third is Kubel, and Ordonez making a big play. Tell you, the outfielders have been really tested today, Rod Allen.
And Maglio Ordonez is in outstanding shape this year, not only physically but also mentally. He's been playing real good baseball all season long. He gets a great jump, but you also have to give some credit to Kubel. who was running at second base, he alertly got back to second to tag up to get over to third base, where he stands now with just one out. There are some players that would have gone halfway on that particular ball, and they would not have been able to get back to tag up.
Delman Young rolls it right to Guillen, makes the play, and the run will score. So it's now a 7-4 game as Kubel comes around and scores, and Young with an RBI, his 58th of the year.
Jim Leland told me before the game if there's one area where he would like to see his ball club improve, and of course when you get to the trade deadline, you start talking about additions and subtractions. Of course, if you're a first base club, you're looking for additions. He said he'd like to find a veteran or two for his bullpen. By and large, his bullpen is very, very young, and Jim knows down the stretch when you start to play in pressure-packed games against division rivals, you want that veteran leadership in your bullpen. So that's an area where they're looking for an upgrade.
J.J. Hardy with the count, 1 ball and 1 strike, 0 for 2. And Robbie Weinhardt with 2 out, nobody on base, and a 3-run lead for the Tigers, now 1-2. And of course, the added pressure, Joel Zamaya, who is out for the year, would have been a real positive reliever, obviously, for the Tigers.
Joel Zamaya was headed to the All-Star game before he went down with his injury, the broken elbow in Minnesota a couple of weeks ago. That's how well Joel Zamaya was pitching for the Tigers. So they do need somebody to replace him at the back end of that bullpen. And by and large, right now, you have a bunch of young kids.
3 balls and 2 strikes to Hardy. Nick Punto would be next. Tigers, they've had to mix and match a lot this year with their pitching. Max Scherzer came up, was sent down. He's come back and has pitched very well as of late. Fly ball to center field, and Hardy's retired by Jackson. Twins get a run back. We go to the bottom of the 7th, 7-4 in favor of the Tigers. By Taco Bell is sponsored by GE Capital, by Lowe's, let's build something together, and by new Gillette Odor Shield Antiperspirant. Help eliminate odor, don't just cover it up. And strike 1 to Maglio Ordonez. He made an outstanding play in right field last inning, one-handed grab. And Ordonez with a home run in the 3rd inning, 1 for 3. And a 3-run lead for the Tigers in the bottom of the 7th. 0-2 now, facing Kevin Slowey, the 3rd pitcher of the day for the Twins.
Well, if you look at the year that Maglio Ordonez is having this year versus what he was able to do last year, he might be in that running for comeback player of the year in the American League. That's how well he's playing.
36-year-old veteran, been in 6 All-Star games, pops this one up, and Nick Punto makes the catch in foul territory for out number 1. That'll bring up Miguel Cabrera, and Mayhay is warming up for the Twins. Another left-hander as Cabrera comes to the plate. Cabrera, by the way, with that 2-run homer in the first inning, extended his hitting streak to a career-high 18 games. He has also been retired once on a fine play by Punto in the 3rd inning, and he takes strike 1.
The one thing that Jim Leyland has finally gotten Cabrera to do, and that's not to give away at-bats. His first couple of years as a Tiger, there were times where Cabrera would give away at-bats. But he is concentrating every single time he steps into that batter's box, and because of that, he has put up MVP-type numbers in the first half of the year in the American League.
You saw Phil Koch, the left-hander, warming up in the bullpen.
He warms up every night.
And Weinhardt comes in every game. So that's the deal right now. 1-1 to Cabrera. Ground ball to third. And Nick Punto. Plenty of time. Cabrera's retired. And there are 2 down in the 7th inning. Chevrolet is proud to support youth baseball and are offering future All-Stars a ballpark makeover. Go to ChevyBaseball.com to enter your community. There's the Renaissance Center here in Detroit, and this downtown has been built up beautifully. And somehow it's always the ballpark downtown that draws people. Last night, capacity crowd of 42,000 here, and another great crowd just short of capacity today to see the Tigers, who are playing winning balls. Strike 1 to Brennan Bosch, who has a double in 3 trips.
Detroit Tigers have tremendous baseball fans, not only here in Detroit, but across the country. Wherever the Tigers travel to, there are tons of Tiger jerseys and caps.
Well, the Tigers represent one of the national franchises that we have in baseball. The Dodgers, the Yankees, obviously, the Red Sox, St. Louis Cardinals, and I've probably left out a couple, but basically those have always been true national teams. And the count to Brennan Bosch is 1-2. How about Bosch when he came out to face the Dodgers and his parents, friends from native Santa Monica, home run over the center field wall in a double. And what a thrill it had to be for Brennan Bosch, who used to come to Dodger Stadium. His dad took him there to see Brett Butler and a lot of the Dodgers that he worshiped as a young kid.
Well, he's special to me. I was also born and raised in Santa Monica, California, so I absolutely like to watch Brennan Bosch play the game of baseball.
Delman Young near the line, and a 1-2-3 inning for Kevin Slowey. And we move to the 8th inning. Tigers leading the Twins. 7-4, and Nick Punto, who has walked, scored a run, and fly to left field, and bunts this one foul ball. Fielded by Alex Avila, and Chad Fairchild right there to make the call. Robbie Weinhardt, who came in after the leadoff double by Kubel last inning, who eventually came around and scored. And Weinhardt retired the 3 batters he faced, and the run was charged to Daniel Schlereth. Well, the Twins fought back last night, Rod. They were down 7-0, and they made it kind of a nervous game for the Tigers before they went down at the end.
It makes it a lot easier if you're the Tigers and you don't have to go through Justin Morneau. 4 at-bats in a game. Of course, Morneau, the all-star starter for the Minnesota Twins at first base. Concussion-like symptoms. He has not played in the first 2 games of this series, and that makes it a whole lot easier to maneuver through this Twins lineup.
And the big story and the question will be the status for the All-Star game. And talking with Ron Gardenhire yesterday, I would think he would need the rest during the All-Star break to try to get back, because a concussion is a difficult thing, and you don't want to ever come back too soon. And he has suffered concussions before, and in fact, even as a youth, as a hockey and basketball player.
That's why they're watching him very closely. Very closely are they watching Morneau. As a matter of fact, Ron Gardenhire said he didn't even know for sure whether he'd be usable today.
Guillen makes the play to retire Punto, and there's 1 out of the 8th inning. Well, the people all-stars among us. Bob Bardwell from Stewartville, Minnesota, founded Youth Ranch for physically disabled. And Gordy Van Hatesma from Grand Rapids here in Michigan refurbishes old bikes and gives them to students. Elementary school kids get a bike if they read 15 books. Well, we got to get it done, and we want to thank them as the people all-stars among us. And this was last year's ceremony preceding the All-Star game. It's a special moment, and the players enjoy seeing them. Pitching change. We'll be back. Phil Koch is the new Tiger pitcher. Pitched a scoreless 8th inning last night. Walked a batter. This is his 42nd appearance, facing Denard Span with 1 out here in the 8th inning. And the first pitch is a strike. So Phil Koch, 5-0 with a 2.52 earned run average, has 10 holes, and tied for first on the Tiger staff with Ryan Perry having an outstanding year.
We talk a lot about Jose Valverde, and he's been tremendous in that bullpen for the Tigers. But Phil Coke, he has been very good as well, getting the ball to Valverde, the closer for the Tigers. The 42 appearances before the All-Star break for Phil Coke, the most for a Tigers reliever since 2005, and that's when Kyle Farnsworth appeared in 41 games.
Jose Valverde starts to loosen up. Denard Span doubled and scored a run in the third inning. He's 1 for 3 today. Strike 3 called. And that'll be 2 out. Well, we have had some outstanding defensive plays both in the infield and outfield.
Well, Punto, his glove works anywhere. This is an outstanding play. Runner on third base, less than 2 outs. He gets the out at home plate. How about the lob here to Santiago to complete a double play by Cabrera? Hudson's won 4 gold gloves. He gets into the act, and so does Denard Span, the center fielder. Tremendous plays made in the infield and the outfield today here at Comerica Park.
And with 2 down, here's Orlando Hudson, who has 2 hits, including an 2-run single back in the third inning. 2 for 3. And the first pitch 1-0. And the Twins have just informed us that Justin Morneau, upon the advice of doctors, will not play in the All-Star game, and in fact returning to Minnesota today. So that opens it up for Miguel Cabrera to be the starting first baseman, I would presume, for the American League.
I can't imagine Joe Girardi, the manager in this year's All-Star game, starting anybody but Cabrera at first base.
I agree. Well deserved, and it just so happens, you know, there were 2 outstanding first basemen to select from. Here's the 1-1 pitch, check swing, and the count is 2-1 to Hudson with 2 down in the 8th.
I guess the next question is, who do you add to the All-Star game? Do you add a first baseman, or do you simply think out the box and add someone else that's very deserving in the American League?
And a base hit through the hole in left field. Hudson with his 3rd hit of the game. And it comes with 2 out here in the 8th inning.
When you think about the year that Konerko is having, and of course Konerko was one of that 5 fan voting that went to Nick Swisher in the American League. You've got Kevin Youkilis.
Billy Butler, you mentioned.
Billy
Kansas
Butler.
City. Well, here's Joe Mauer. And in the 8th inning here in a 7-4 game. And Valverde getting ready to come in here in the 9th, or perhaps earlier if the Twins mount a bigger charge. Mauer is 0 for 3 on the day.
And left-handers usually don't bother Joe Mauer, but he's not having the Joe Mauer type season this year. He had 365 last year and won his 3rd batting title. He also had the highest on-base percentage and the highest slugging percentage, and that's the first time that had been accomplished since 1980, when a guy I think you know, George Brett, did it.
Yes. Who would be a sure all-star from Kansas City. Here's the 1-0 pitch, and it's a fastball for a strike, 1-1. And so you have Mauer, the left-handed hitter, Jim Thome, if Mauer keeps it alive. And that is the luxury that Jim Leyland has with 3 left-handers coming out of the bullpen.
Especially against a club like Minnesota that has as many left-handers as it has on their roster. And Ron Gardenhire, he backs them all up. He'll go Mauer, he'll go Thome, and then he'll go Kubik.
Mauer swings and misses, 1-2. And in case you're wondering, you mentioned Mauer can handle left-handers. He has 2 home runs off of Phil Coke in his career in a 3-for-7 at-bat situation. So the count is 1 ball, 2 strikes with 2 down. Orlando Hudson, the runner at first, a 3-run Tiger lead in the 8th. And strike 3, good pitch and a fastball. Mauer strikes out. 2 strikeouts for Coke. And we go to the last of the 8th. Tigers still up by 3. and Garden crew. By Dairy Queen and by DirecTV. Watch and record in multiple rooms with just one DVR. Bottom of the 8th inning, and the Tigers up by 3 runs. They've out-hit the Twins 8-6, trying to make it 5 in a row and clinch the series, having won last night 7-3. And Ron Mayhay is the 4th pitcher of the afternoon for Minnesota. And facing switch-hitting Carlos Guillen, now batting from the right side. And the pitch is a strike. Mayhay making his 29th appearance. Gave up a home run by Jose Bautista on Thursday against Toronto. Bautista has hit another one against the Red Sox today, so he's got 24. And the count is 1-1.
Well, Mayhay, one of those veteran guys out of the bullpen for Ron Gardenhire, really did a nice job for them last year, second half of the season in particular, which allowed the Minnesota Twins to catch the Detroit Tigers on the final day of the year.
It's amazing that one division has had to go to that one-game playoff in each of the last 2 years, which speaks to the closeness of the White Sox and the Twins and the Tigers. And here they are again, separated at this point by 3 games, and could be 4 if the Tigers go on and win. Fair ball. Punto retires Guillen with the first out. And here is our DirecTV game break. Top of the 5th, no score, and Troy Glaus singles to left field off of Mike Pelfrey. Chipper Jones scores to make it 1-0 Braves, and then All-Star Omar Infante, who's with the Tigers, singles up the middle. Brian McCann scores to make it 2-0 in favor of Atlanta. So Infante, who was an all-played for the Tigers and is going to the All-Star game, and a very valuable guy. And of course, a lot of people wondering about Charlie Manuel. This is what we were talking earlier with Bert Blyleven about situational players getting a chance to play.
Well, Omar Infante obviously is the best platoon player in the National League. You look at his numbers, hitting with runners in scoring position. He's hitting over 300. He can play all infield positions. He can play all outfield positions. And that's exactly what you need in the All-Star game these days. You need some multi-dimensional players just in case you run into a situation where the game is tied late.
Brandon Hinge, and the count 3 balls and no strikes.
And that Atlanta Braves team is playing some really good baseball in 4 games in front of first place as we speak in that division. And Bobby Cox, their manager, has said that he's going to retire at the end of this year. So more than likely, it's going to be a situation where Bobby Cox might go out by getting to the postseason.
And of course, we talked about how well the Tigers have played at home, the best record in the American League, but the Braves at 30-10 have the best record at home overall, in Major League Baseball. So the Braves are doing well, and it's going to be a great race in the second half. And the All-Star game coming up the right time, and people wondering what kind of further moves will be made.
Well, there's always teams that are in the hunt. There's always buyers. There's always sellers. And, of course, most of your first-place clubs, they're going to be buyers, but it's going to be very, very difficult to get those types of players because everybody's looking for them. We talked about Jim Leland, and he talked about his club possibly needing a veteran out in that bullpen. But guess what? Everybody else wants that same veteran pitcher that might be on the market.
1-0 the count with 1 out to Alex Avila, and he hits it high in the air, deep to right center field, and Span back there and makes the catch. And going back to first is Hinge. We have had 5 home runs today and a lot of close calls as well, hit to the deepest part of the ballpark. And there are 2 down here in the 8th inning. Again, MLB's All-Star Game celebration continues Monday at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific with the Home Run Derby on ESPN. And then on Tuesday at 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 Pacific, it's the Red Carpet Show on MLB Network, followed by the main event, the main course, the 2010 MLB All-Star Game at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, right here on Fox. And here is Ramon Santiago. Who will forget the 89 All-Star Game, Rod Allen in Anaheim, when Bo Jackson led off the game against Rick Russell.
First pitch, I believe it was.
Yes.
Straightaway center field.
448 feet.
I believe Bo Jackson was the leading vote getter in that All-Star game that year. We've been talking about Mauer being the leading vote getter
in this year's All-Star game, Bo Jackson was the most popular player in baseball at the halfway point that season. What a talent he was.
Santiago has a double in 3 trips. 2 down, runner at first, and hits a foul out of play to the right. Well, let's see Bo Jackson with that home run we're talking about. There's that big A. This is Tony Perez, excuse me. 67, the tie-breaking solo home run for Catfish. Here is Bo Jackson's leadoff home run off of Rick Russia. And the AL won the All-Star game 5-3. And the count 2-2 to Santiago. Two balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. So we know that we have some dramatic home runs hit at the Big A, now Anaheim Stadium. And we'll see what transpires this Tuesday, the All-Star game, as Santiago takes strike 3. And now the Twins coming up for their final chance, trailing the Tigers by 3. Is looking for another one here, his 19th in 20 opportunities, making his 39th appearance. He pitched last night in a non-save situation in the 9th inning and worked an inning and struck out a batter. Will be facing Jim Thome, Jason Kubel, and Michael Kadire here in a 7-3 game. And here is Thome, who is 1 for 3 with a home run. That one hit a home run against Valverde in his career. 0 for 3 on the day for the veteran DH.
Valverde has a power fastball anywhere from 95 to 97 miles an hour, but he also has a specialty pitch, and that would be the split-fingered fastball, and he can throw that pitch for a strike whenever he wants to, and he can also get the ball to dance in a couple different directions, just depending on the pressure points that he puts on the baseball. 2 pitches to Jim Thome, both split-fingered fastballs, count now 1-1.
85, 86 miles per hour, and that is the speed of those pitches for Valverde, who been named to his 2nd All-Star game, first with the American League, pitched for the D-backs in the 207 All-Star game in the National League. And the count 1 ball and 2 strikes. Look at the lowest earned run average for closers this year. Valverde under 1 run a game. And following Rivera, Soriano, and Bailey.
He has been nearly unhittable. And Valverde thought he had strike 3 right there, but Chad Fairchild did not go up with the right hand. It's a nice frame job by the youngster Avila. He held it there and for a long time to give Chad Fairchild a nice look at it, but Fairchild thought the ball was outside.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Jim Thome. 3-2. Last year with Houston, Valverde had 25 saves in 52 appearances, but missed 7 weeks with a strained calf. He had 44 saves for Houston the year before as Kubel, who doubled his last time up, waits on deck. 3 balls, 2 strikes, nobody out. We're in the 9th inning. Tigers trying to nail it down with their closer, and Thome strikes out for out number 1.
6 straight split-fingered fastballs to Jim Thome, which gives you an idea of the confidence that Valverde has in that lethal pitch. It is one of the best split-fingered fastballs in all of baseball today.
With 1 out, Jason Kubel, who has struck out, walked, and doubled.
Take a look at these fingers and the grip that Valverde has on the baseball, and because of that, he can get it to dance in either direction. You know, Dick, there was a lot of closers in the free agent market last year, and Valverde fell to the Tigers in January. He was still on the market in January.
Hard to believe that a closer of that reputation, and look what he has done, would last as long as he did. 0-1 to Kubel, who has never faced Valverde before, and he fouls it off. No balls, 2 strikes. Today's game produced by Larry Lancaster, directed by Ray Tipton. The associate director was Brian Biederman, and the broadcast associate Matt Saldana. Thanks also to technical producer Bob Mueller, technical director Rick Tugman, and Chris Visser and Jason Thornberry working the stats. No balls, 2 strikes, and 1 out. And missing outside, 1-2 to Kubel. The pregame show was produced by Don Bowie. The senior producer of Fox Sports is Bill Brown. And the executive producers of Fox Sports are Ed Gorin, Eric Shanks, and David Hill. So Valverde is ahead of Kubel with 1 out, nobody on base here in the 9th inning. And a foul, just getting a piece of that, was Kubel.
Valverde has not thrown a fastball yet. He's thrown 10 pitches, all split-fingered fastballs. But what a nice luxury to have when you've got 95 to 97 in your back pocket.
And he reached into his back pocket there. A 95-mile-an-hour fastball fouled off, so it remains 1-2.
He can get a little higher than that, which makes him devastating when he's on. And you look at his numbers, his earned run average is under 1, which is the best among all American League relievers. And, of course, you mentioned it. He's going to the All-Star game this year.
Here's the 1-2 pitch. And another foul ball. Jeremy Bonderman would stand to win this game. He worked 6 innings, allowing 3 runs on 4 hits. Looking for his 5th win in 11 decisions. Daniel Schlereth, Robbie Weinhart, Phil Koch, and now Valverde. So just as the case last night, the Tigers going to 4 relievers to try to nail this one down. And staying alive is Jason Kubel. Kubel getting his bat on the ball, and Michael Kadire on deck, and the Twins need a couple of base runners to make it close here.
Valverde is one of your more animated closers in all of baseball, and if he gets a strikeout here of Kubel, he'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Hitters don't particularly like it, but it's Jose Valverde.
That's down low, 2-2. Minnesota Twins in danger of falling 4 games behind the Detroit Tigers in the AL Central. On June the 11th, they were up 4.5 games, so that's almost a complete turnaround, a difference of 8.5 games if the Tigers hold on and win. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Another foul ball. 10 pitches thrown by Valverde to Kubel at this at-bat. Once again, the 2-2 pitch. And the count is full. Jason Kubel with a terrific at-bat here, Rod, trying to get on base with Cuddyer and then Delman Young. If they get that far, there is Cuddyer, who has a home run today.
It's the way the Minnesota Twins play the game under their manager, Ron Gardenhire. They don't quit. They play hard baseball for 27 outs.
The payoff pitch. Strike three, and down goes Kubel. 2 strikeouts for Valverde, and the Twins are down to their last out.
Take a look at this pitch. 3-2, unhittable. Unhittable. And I told you he likes the style, too.
And Michael Cuddyer with a home run and 3 trips to the plate. And the first pitch to him is a strike. White Sox will play the Royals in Chicago tonight. The other team that's in the fight in the AL Central right now, a half a game behind the Tigers coming in. 1-1.
Well, right now, Minnesota Twins are playing the best baseball within the division. And to make no mistake about it, the team that usually plays the best in the Central the last few years is the team that comes out of the Central. So both the Tigers and the White Sox need to do a better job in that regard.
White Sox have won 6 in a row. Here's the 1-1 pitch and a foul fly to the crowd. So 1 ball and 2 strikes, and now Valverde trying to close it down.
The White Sox have gone something like 23-6. 23-6 in the last month.
Crowd on its feet. And Valverde wanted that one. Very close, and the count is even.
98 miles an hour on that last fastball from Valverde.
And we'll do it again. This great crowd waving the white handkerchiefs on its feet. And a foul ball down the left field line. And the Twins keeping it alive. Thome and Kubel going down on strikes here against Jose Valverde, looking to convert his 19th straight save. And a chopper to third. Inge on the short hop, throws high in time for the out, and the ball game is over. Valverde gets his 19th straight save, and the Tigers win it 7-4, beating the Twins for the 2nd straight game.
Brandon Inge comes in, gets a tricky hop. He flips in one motion. Cabrera has to climb the ladder and get stepped on by Cuddyer as he runs by.
And we'll be back here at Comerica Park as the joyous Tigers celebrate their 5th consecutive win. Twins go down for the 4th straight time. And Rod Allen and I will be back in just a moment.